YNW Melly officially has a trial date. On this date, we'll be finding out whether or not YNW Melly will be getting sentenced to life in prison. But with this new evidence that I will be sharing in this video, it does not look good for YNW Melly. We need to talk about this, so let's get straight into it. YNW Melly's trial is set to start on March 7th in 2022. This will be the biggest rapper-related court case that we have had in a long time. Prosecutors believe they've gathered enough evidence for the trial to start after a long 2 years. In the latest court hearing, prosecutors requested the Broward County judge to force YNW Melly to provide his DNA. This is in order to help solve the case, as they also asked for all of YNW Melly's body measurements as well. This means that they want the length of his arms, his legs, even his body weight to create a model of YNW Melly's body so they can recreate the scene of what they believe happened. Now, in the court documents, it states that in the vehicle where YNW Melly allegedly did the act towards 2 individuals, there was evidence left behind being a yellow jacket. This yellow jacket was analyzed by the Broward County Sheriff's Office's crime lab, and then a report was issued. Dated on September 2nd in 2021, the report indicates that Anthony Williams, aka YNW Sack Chaser, DNA was a part of the sample and that there were 3 other potential contributors. The contributor profiles are not eligible to be entered at this moment. The prosecutors want to prove that YNW Melly is guilty in this case by using a DNA test, which in the court of law is very hard evidence to beat. So once this was brought up in court, YNW Melly was seen exiting the court looking very concerned. That's when this updated mugshot was then released of the rapper, who looks defeated. New evidence photos were released in the latest court hearing as well. In this photo, this is actually where everyone was sitting inside of the Jeep when the so-called drive-by occurred. This explains why prosecutors want YNW Melly's body measurements due to him sitting in the back seat of the driver's side. YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser, which are the 2 that sadly passed, are the 2 men sitting on the right side of the vehicle. Now, in the second official document, it states, and I quote, "Then also, we have a video of Mr. Demons admitting to doing an act towards 2 individuals in the head." Now, I had to change a few of the words in that statement, but you understand what I'm trying to say. This is the piece of evidence that I'm very worried about, as there is a video of Melly talking about this incident on a video. And in that same video, he admits to doing it. So in the next court document, it states this. This video was on Mr. Demon's cell phone, which was brought to my office by Jameson Francis. And that is how we had that, and that was all of the evidence that Your Honor has. So this is where it gets interesting. First off, Mr. Demons in these documents is YNW Melly. Strangely enough, that's his last name. And in case you didn't know who Jameson Francis is, this is YNW Melly's manager, known as 100K Management. Jameson is a manager for tons of rappers such as King Von, YNW Melly, and many others in the industry. So it turns out that he was the man holding YNW Melly's cell phones during the entire time he was in jail. That was until law enforcement put out a warrant for the cell phone, so if he never turned it in, he would have been arrested for tampering with evidence. Now, allegedly, law enforcement can do something called a data extract. This means that they can pull everything that was ever on a certain cell phone. This means that deleted text messages, deleted photos, even Snapchats will be brought back, and law enforcement will now be able to use that evidence against YNW Melly in court. Now, that is very concerning, as the next court document states that the cell phone evidence is probably the biggest part of the court case, which I definitely have to agree with the alleged video of Melly admitting to doing it, as well as text messages that Melly sent to his girlfriend at the time this all went down. Now, the next court document also stated this, and I quote, "These particular cell phones, which were both iPhone 10s, were on the T-Mobile network. And so T-Mobile has a very interesting feature where it will tell you the environment that the cell phone is in. So from these cell phone records, I could tell you the exact moment demons got out of the car and staged the drive-by location. So this is huge evidence as well. And why this is so big is because YNW Melly took 40 minutes to get Juvie and Sack Chaser medical attention after the so-called drive-by occurred. So with law enforcement now having a tool where they can go back in time, use YNW Melly's cell phone that was in his pocket as a GPS tracking device, they'll be able to track all of YNW Melly's movements the moment everything went down. So they can actually follow if they pulled their vehicle into a side parking lot to stage the drive-by. So after hearing all of that evidence, make sure you listen to the timeline that the courtroom laid out about the day Sack Chaser and Juvie sadly passed and piece it all together. So it starts on October 26 in 2018 at roughly 3:30 a.m. YNW Melly, Juvie, Sack Chaser, and Bortland were all at a recording studio. They were getting late night work done for YNW Melly's new project, and that was until their session was over. Once they were finished, they hopped inside of their Jeep and started heading home. The driver of the vehicle being Cortland Henry, otherwise known as YNW Bortland, had YNW Melly sitting directly behind him. Now YNW Bortland ended up driving on a back road home. This was to skip early morning traffic. Now while law enforcement doesn't know exactly what happened inside of the vehicle, the theory is the vehicle was pulled over to the side of the road and a distraction was made to catch YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser off guard. While they were distracted, that's when YNW Melly did the act towards them in the vehicle. After it was all said and done, the Jeep was allegedly brought into a side parking lot where nobody was in sight and nobody could hear a firearm being used. That would be where YNW Melly and YNW Bortland allegedly roughed up the vehicle to make it appear as if a drive-by happened. That would be Melly and Bortland's excuse for this entire thing happening when they finally bring Sack Chaser and Juvie to the hospital. Now right there, that could explain why it took 40 minutes to get Juvie and Sack Chaser medical attention, and when you add in all of the evidence that I shared earlier in the video, it's starting to look very concerning for YNW Melly. And you have to remember as well, they were on a back road home. This means there was no street cameras, not really any other vehicles driving by, so there was no witnesses. But let me know what you guys think of it down below in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you're new, and subscribe. It's been District Trending, and I'm out. Peace. And make sure to check out our videos here on the end screen if you haven't already. We're uploading every day in December, so don't miss out on any of them.